This is VSiN at the Track. Now here's your hosts, Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman.
Welcome in here, another VSiN at the Track. I am Mike Somich. He is Aaron Halterman. It is Preakness weekend, although it kind of doesn't feel like it because of the things that are going on in the horse racing world. Obviously, we will talk about all of those, but I do promise you, it is the 151st running of the Preakness Stakes. And of course, Aaron, we will preview that on today's show. How has your Preakness week been so far?
It's great. I love the Preakness. I love this Preakness. It's amazing. What a betting race we've got. Just got to think of all the positives. That's what I've been doing. I've been on a few VSiN shows. It's like, oh, no, it's great. Guys, definitely bet it. It's an amazing race. Don't worry about the fact that you may not have heard of some of these horses. It's okay. But you know what? If you haven't heard of some horses in this race, we're going to talk about them today, Mike. That's our job. So we'll get you up to speed.
Just because it is a midwinter aqueduct prep race for the Kentucky Derby does not mean it is not a good Preakness, because it is a phenomenal betting race. I like a 20-1 horse on top.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy. You have to stick around later to find out who that is. But it is a fascinating race to handicap because, you know, I was on VSiN earlier and Matt Brown's like, the favorite ran 7th last time. I'm like, yep, that's about right. That's the type of field that we got. So we will run through that entire field. Oh, boy, do we have a big-time Triple Crown debate a little bit later. I'm going to let the YouTube comments take us all around it, because I don't know if you looked at them. There were a lot of comments around what we should be doing with the Triple Crown. We'll talk about that toward the end of the show. Riley Mott says, you know what? I'm a little younger than my dad. I'm going to go ahead and enter a horse inside this Preakness. Incredibolt joins the Preakness field. So we do have 2 horses returning from the Kentucky Derby. Incredibolt going to be our second. Danon Bourbon, unfortunately, did get injured in the Kentucky Derby, which just makes his race even better. We'll talk about him. What's the future look like for him? Look, just because the kids aren't running well doesn't mean the adults don't want to have some fun. The older horses going to get up in for a banger in the Stephen Foster. We'll talk about that field coming up as well. Of course, race previews for the Black Eyed Susan, the dinner party, the Preakness Stakes, your questions and comments, and best bets. Pretty full show here, Aaron. Pretty full show. Let's start out with Riley Mott. He does enter Incredibolt into the Preakness to get us to 14 horses in this field. His dad, obviously, last year decided not to enter Sovereignty in the Preakness. I think it was probably ownership too that were involved, but Bill takes the majority of the blame there. What do you make Incredibolt joining this field? Is he probably maybe going to be the favorite? We'll see what happens when it actually comes post time.
Yeah, I think he'll end up being the favorite. I think it's a great move. I think it's smart. I think other horses from the Derby should have done the same thing when they saw how light this field was coming up. And look, I thought it was a great move by Riley Mott. It's just so funny. I got so many texts saying, man, Bill Mott ruins the Preakness and his son Riley's coming to save the Preakness. Such a weird deal. There was an article at DRF where they're talking about Bill Mott and how, oh yeah, I really encourage Riley to run his horse in the race. It's like, what world are we living in? Bizarro world for sure. But on the surface, I think it's a great move. This horse is never going to look so good in a grade 1 as he does in this one. Doesn't mean he's going to win, but he looks good on paper at least. So great move. I really am glad that he did it.
Yeah, look, I am too. I liked this horse in the Derby. I thought the trip was okay. Not great, but I mean, it's a Derby trip. Like, what do you expect? You're not going to get a perfect one. I'm interested to see how this horse gets bet. I'm interested to see who's going to be the favorite in this race, but I do think Incredibolt at least adds a little bit of spice. I'm still available as your PR director, Bill. If you need one, Bill Mott out there. We've talked about it multiple times on this show. You could frame things a little better, not catch so much heat, but nice to have Incredibolt and Oselli, who's yet to win a race, yet going to be in the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown. We'll be right back here for the Preakness. All right, Danon Bourbon. We talked about him coming out of the Kentucky Derby. I mean, this is a horse who I would argue ran the best race of anybody, considering that he was the only horse anywhere near the pace that was able to keep on. We saw the closers come rolling late in the Kentucky Derby. What do you make of Danon Bourbon? The news, he is injured, so he apparently got hurt during the Kentucky Derby, which makes that even crazier that he ran well. He's headed back to Japan. What do you make of him here after finding the injury news, and when do you expect to see Danon Bourbon back in the States?
Yeah, you never really know if that could have been the cause of it. He has a fracture in his leg, and it's not like a serious injury that's going to cause him to maybe have to be retired or anything like that, but he is going to miss the rest of the year. He is going to have surgery on it. It's what's serious enough, right? And Boy, you always wonder now, right? Was that the reason he dropped anchor? Because, boy, when he was turning for home, he looked good. And a little bit down the stretch, it's like, boy, he may win it. Was that the reason he stopped? Are we going to look back, let's say 2 years from now, if Danon Bourbon goes on to have a good year and go, man, if that didn't happen, maybe he would have won that Kentucky Derby for Japan. So it adds to the kind of the mystery of was he just really tired, or did something happen in the stretch to him physically that caused him to stop? I always hate to hear that a horse is injured. That's the other thing as well. I was very curious to see how he was going to run the rest of his 3-year-old season. Like I said, though, sounds like he's going to be out the rest of this year. Going to come back for some of those bigger 4-year-old races if everything goes well. But just another kind of thing that you just look back at that Derby and like, man, what really happened a couple of weeks ago? It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's a bummer, man. I was lower on Danon Bourbon than I think a lot of people were heading into the Derby. I thought he ran phenomenally, obviously. Said maybe the best runner in the Derby there based on what we saw from him being near the pace. We'll see how good this Derby class is. Again, the 95 buyer, kind of pretty telling. Came back the lowest buyer that we've seen from a Kentucky Derby. I was excited to see him run again, though. And so I was upset that I was hoping this was going to be, hey, it's going to be a couple months. We'll be back in training. Maybe we'll be in the Breeders' Cup. I was excited to see if we were going to get that type of turnaround and see him be able to face some of the older horses there. Not getting him for the rest of the year is a bummer. The fact that he's going to come back at 4, I think, is great news. The fact that they're already saying we're going to come back and try and run at 4 is a huge positive, because a lot of times this is, sorry, guys, we're going to go ahead and go to the breeding shed with this horse, right? Because of how quickly this happened. But I'm hoping we do get to see him at least once in the U.S. again. The negative part about all this is we may never see him in the U.S. again. Because if, let's say that he runs at 4 but decides not to go to the Breeders' Cup, I don't see them shipping him over here for, I don't know, the random Whitney, right? Or the Stephen F. Foster, which we'll talk about now. Stephen F. Foster coming up at Churchill Downs. The professional transition there.
Yes.
It's loaded, dude. This could be, we've always talked about, we want rivalries. We want big horses facing each other. The 4-year-olds apparently are not scared to face each other. And then you sprinkle in some of the older horses that we've got coming back as well. This is going to be awesome. If this is what we get once every other month, I cannot wait to see how this plays out. Tell us about the Stephen F. Foster field.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing. So you've got Sovereignty and White Barrio. They were kind of the known commodities that were pointing for the race. Of course, we saw a great race in the Oaklawn Handicap down at Oaklawn Park. But now Magnitude is pointing for the race, the winner of the Dubai World Cup. And now Baeza is pointing for this race. So Bill Mott's going to run Sovereignty and Baeza against each other. And then, like you said, you've got the Magnitude and you got White Barrio. What a race. This is the best race of the year so far. No doubt and no debates about it. Now, it feels like a Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, I'm sure you're not going to have the depth of the field. There's probably going to be a little bit of a smaller field with those 4 entered. But my goodness, Mike, does it get any better than that? I mean, that is fantastic. And I got to think, there's going to be 1 or 2 other ones that throw their name into the hat before it's over as well.
I mean, we get Skippy journalism. Is someone else going to pop up? We'll see, to see if we can continue these rivalries as we move forward. I'm a little surprised. I kind of expected that we'd see Saratoga, someone running on Belmont weekend, and this kind of makes that incredibly unlikely that you're going to see Sovereignty, who's done very well up at Saratoga, end up there. So a little bit of a surprise that this is how this rolls out, but I can't wait. I'm excited. Give me just right into the veins, man. Give me these type of races where we get great horses. I can't wait to see Magnitude too. Yeah. I was too high on Magnitude too early. I said he was going to win the Travers. Obviously, he did not run very well in the Travers. He looks like a racehorse now, though. You can see the maturity that he has gotten from moving from that 3 to the 4-year-old season. Got that tactical speed early, can be forward if he needs to, but has developed this ability to stalk now, too, which makes him just have that added gear that makes him a real problem. I can't wait to inject Magnitude into this field and see how he faces the White Barrios, the Baezas, the Sovereignties of this group, because it's just a new element that we have not seen in these races prior.
I mean, he beat Forever Young in the Dubai World Cup. Now, Forever Young doesn't run all that well over there in Dubai. He did lose last year's running of the race as well. So, yeah, there's some things, but still, he finished ahead of Forever Young. So that is something. He looked really good in his prep race at Oaklawn Park before he headed over to the Dubai World Cup. So Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. And you're right. Like from a number standpoint, like he kind of fit into that Travers. He just didn't run a step that day at Saratoga, but he's come back to run really well. And it's like, listen, Baeza, how good was he on debut? Like he totally missed the break. He probably should have been declared a non-starter. And he comes back and runs well too, Mike. So this is very fascinating. It's not as easy as just, hey, it's Sovereignty or Wadabario, move on. These other two horses are really good.
Well, that to me is the thing that I think is so interesting here is that, like, I think you were a little lower on Baeza. Like, we'll see what he comes back as a 4-year-old. He was awesome. And that, like, he should have won his return. It was the head case issues at the gate. We'll see what happens there. I think that becomes a big question mark. Like, are we going to get Baeza to be able to just break out of the gate, get out clean, not have any issues behind the gate? Because the talent, we saw the step forward. And that's the one thing that I think that you have to pay attention when you're looking at these older horses. That question always comes up. Are you going to see a horse be able to take a step forward from that 3-year-old season into the 4-year-old season? And how big is it going to be? Are you going to be able to close the gap if you're Baeza between you and Sovereignty? That first race told me we probably were able to close that gap on some level. The question now becomes, can you finish that off and mentally close the gap too?
Yeah, that's just it, right? And you maybe have a little excuse your first race out, and again, I thought the starter was holding him when the gates open, so that could be an excuse as well, right? So I think this is the one out of Journalism, Sovereignty, Baeza. This was the one where you kind of felt like you just never saw his best. You never saw his best last year. He got thrown into the deep end of the pool, and he was just kind of grinding to get there. Maybe this is it, because here's the deal. The race he ran, he still ran a winning race. Corporate Power and Skippy Longstocking ran fantastic, and he spotted him 5 or 6 links, right? So he still was the best horse coming out of that race, and that race was not weak. That was a strong race. If Corporate Power was in this race to Stephen Foster, he'd have a little bit of a shot, right? So it's going to be really fascinating to see how Baeza develops.
Yeah, we are a pro Corporate Power show here. If you want to become a pro, head over to VSiN Pro. Heyo, sign up for 14 months right now for the cost of just $12. That's right. For a limited time, get the annual subscription, normally $240, for just $199. And when you sign up today, we'll throw in 2 extra months for free. That's 14 months of VSiN Pro for less than 50 cents a day with the promo code PRO, P-R-O. Get access to best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, real-time DraftKings and Circa betting splits, AI-powered prop tools and matchup analysis, 24/7 video and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app, as well as special edition betting guides across every major sport throughout the entire season. Don't you know if you know this, but we are leaking NFL games as we record this right now. They are already starting to pop up for week 1 in your books. You'll get a guide for that if you sign up as well. Head over to VSiN.com/subscribe and use promo code PRO, P-R-O. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Promo code is PRO. All right, Mr. Halterman. Before the boys can hit the track at Laurel Park, yes, Laurel Park, not Pimlico, it is the girls' turn to dance here in the Black-Eyed Susan. And you know what? We have a full field of 10. And it's another very interesting betting race. Your favorite is going to be the number 7 horse, Jumping the Gun, who was favored here last time out, ended up not being able to win the local prep for this. But there's a couple of horses sitting at 7-2. We got a handful under 10-1. You got a lot of options if you want to go double digits all the way up to that 15-1 price. Fun betting race, fun double if you're looking for this Black-Eyed Susan into the Preakness double. Where are you going on top?
Yeah, I didn't get crazy in this one. I did get crazy in the Preakness. We'll talk about it in a bit. But yeah, we're both going to be crazy there. But I think in this one, I kind of looked to the outside, My Miss Mo, the number 10 horse, and thought, I think if this horse gets out of the gate well, she will get to the lead. I do think she'll cross over before that first turn. I kind of think she can take him gate to wire. You look at her race last time out in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. She got beat by Prom Queen by 2 3/4 of a length, but did hold off everybody else. I think Prom Queen would be like 2-5 in this race, to be quite honest with you. I think she's been facing, talking about My Miss Mo, a lot better horses than a lot of these other ones. So on top, I kind of just think the speed's going to prevail here. I think Gaffleone gets My Miss Mo out of the gate, and I think she takes him gate to wire. So I went number 10, My Miss Mo, on top.
Yeah, look, she's the favorite, right? Like when they
Has to
actually break
be.
from the gate, she is absolutely the favorite.
Yes. This
I mean,
morning
this was
line is
I
a
don't
joke.
understand either morning line. I'm not a big
No.
like bash the morning line guy either. But like both of these, I was surprised. Like I
Terrible.
think my Miss Mo is 2-1, something like that.
Yep.
And for all the reasons that you said, look, she's coming from Gulfstream Park. No knock to Tampa or Laurel or any of the other places we've got parks, horses shipping in from here. Probably the best last race is that last race for My Miss Mo in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Runs second to Prom Queen. Queen came back and ran, I thought, really well with not a great trip in the Kentucky Oaks as well. So that kind of it flatters that last effort for My Miss Mo. If you go two back, ran second to She Be Smooth. I think She Be Smooth is a really good horse. Like, so you have solid competition from My Miss Mo here. The pace, I think, is the one part where she may have a little bit of pressure. There are some horses that have speed to her inside. We'll see how fast they want to go early. Horses like Bracken Papa here, the 5 horse with Jose Ortiz on top, has been getting the lead in mile races. Now, the fractions aren't all that fast. Savor It, the 4 horse has a little speed, but again, fractions not all that fast. You don't have that true sprinter who is turning around. So I do think it is a chance for My Miss Mo to clear. I'm just not as optimistic, I think, as you are that she will be able to clear.
Yeah, I think the 5 is the biggest danger. But you talked about Breaking Papa coming out of those Louisiana bred races. That's my problem. I just don't know that this horse is going to go up there and have that kind of same speed as My Miss Mo. And like I said, I think the big key is coming out of the gate. Gonna have to break really well out of the gate here. That's the biggest thing for me. Get to the front, clear the 5, and I think can do it. And it's, again, I think been facing tougher horses. So I see what you're saying. There are other horses that do have a little bit of speed. I just think My Miss Mo's the fastest, and I think she's the classiest of the ones.
Yeah, she's definitely the classiest. I'm going to go to the morning line favorite here, who I actually think I will get a better price on than the morning line. That's the number 7 horse, who's 3-1 on the morning line, jumping the gun. I think this horse probably goes off at 7-2, maybe 4-1. Like I think we see a float up, first off, because My Miss Mo gets money. Secondly, because the last race wasn't great. And this horse lost to Ivy Girl and AP's Girl. Both horses are in this race. It was a local prep at Laurel here for kind of the Black-Eyed Susan. It was this horse's first time off the layoff in jumping the gun. And you could see the horse just kind of didn't have it, was in the bait of 8 posts, broke out at the start, didn't get a clean trip. You didn't see the same kick that you saw from that first season. She wants to be forward, so I don't worry about the pace or the lack thereof, which I think we both agree we're not going to get a scorching pace in this race, unlike the Preakness. I want someone who's going to be close. She's going to be close. I kind of trust the back races, the 2-year-old races, and the fact that you had Luis Saez, I think, here is a positive thing as well. So I'm going to go with jumping the gun, but like tepidly, because I do want like 7-2, 4-1. I don't really love this horse if she's the favorite, but at the same time, I do think we get a little bit of a float in the price.
Yeah, it's funny. I like a different horse out of that race. I don't hate yours. I just want to say that quickly. I kind of thought AP's Girl might be really interesting in this spot coming out of that race. This is one that had ran 2 nice ones in a row, and again at Fairgrounds, maiden and allowance. But I thought first race here at Laurel had the lead and just kind of got beat late, but I thought ran okay. I think second start here at Laurel Park, also getting Ira out of board. That's kind of the one I wanted out of the quote unquote local prep. I don't really want the winner. I'm with you. I think if you're going to take one, take the 7 or the 9. I kind of preferred the 9 AP's Girl out of it. I just thought she ran a little bit of a better race. And like I said, I like those races at Fairgrounds. They tried the turf for a long time with this horse, but once we got to the dirt, you really saw this horse kind of wake up a little bit. Pretty good breeding to go long as well. I liked that from AP's Girl. I think she's going to get better going longer. So, but again, I'm with you. I think you take the 7 or the 9 out of it. I don't really want Ivy Girl, the winner of that race at the local prep. I don't really want her out of it.
Yeah, I don't either. And to me, like the one thing that jumps out of her with jumping the gun specifically is the race 2 back on the Day Mazel, where we were 8 lengths behind Zany. But that was when Zany was a 2-year-old and like Zany was Zany. And like that horse she didn't step forward into her 3-year-old season the way I think a lot of people expected her to step forward. Whereas like we don't know yet if jumping the gun is going to. I got to call out two other horses here that I think make a lot of sense at decent prices. The number 8, Majestic Lucia, she's only run 3 times. She has the right to improve here. She also has some tactical speed. We'll see what she's able to do for Barbosa and Alvarado. And then the number 3, Holly's Holiday, who's 6-1 on the morning line. Another lightly raced horse. She's going to be third off the layoff here. Just the 5th start for Kenny McPeak. Flavian Pratt jumps aboard after winning 200K stakes race over at Oaklawn. To me, those are both players in this race, especially if you're building like a super underneath, either the 10 or the 7, depending on how you're attacking this. I think that the 3 and the 8 are both logical contenders.
I thought the 3 was a big-time player in here, talking about Holly's Holiday. 2 races as a 2-year-old, one at Keeneland, one at Churchill, and just didn't pick up her feet at all. And it's like, well, I don't know who this horse is, really. You look at those Oaklawn races, Mike, they were pretty good. The maiden was a very good race as well. I thought that was a very good way to kind of just totally reverse the form. That race last time out was solid. That Valley of the Vapors wasn't a horrible stakes race at Oaklawn. Now, it was just a mile, but it is a 2-turn mile at Oaklawn. So I do think that is important to note when you're coming to now have to stretch back out again. At least it was a 2-turn race. But I thought that was easily the best race of her career. And I think if she can build on that, get Flavian Pratt aboard, I like her a lot. That's who I had in second. And I think she can show up here again. Going to have to improve. We know that, but not that much, right? She's within the range of these horses. So I thought Holly's Holiday was going to be really interesting. I think she'll get a great trip, kind of stalking those early leaders and try to be ready to pounce. And then getting Flavian, that's good as well. So, yeah, I really, really liked the number 3 Holly's Holiday.
Yeah, I'm probably going to end up with some type of trifecta with the 7 and 10 on top, and then playing the 3, the 8, and the 9 underneath. All right, that is the Black-Eyed Susan, race number 13 from Laurel Park, 1.125 over the turf course on Friday. Number 10, My Miss Mo for Aaron. Number 7, jumping the gun for me, but I want 7-2 or 4-1. I'm going to pass up if we do have that 3-1 price. All right, if you are listening over in podcast form, we appreciate it. Make sure to check out the YouTube page. We've got a YouTube page now at VSiN at the Track over on YouTube where you can get involved in the show yourself. We'll have a lot of people involved a little bit later as the debate was raging inside the comments on what we should do for the Triple Crown. I think I got like 8 of them to read, Aaron. So a lot of people going to be joining the show a little bit later. If you want to tell us what you think about this year's rendition of the Preakness, if you want to tell us who you like in the Preakness, drop a comment below at VSiN at the Track over on YouTube. If you're listening to podcast form, hey, we appreciate it as well. 5 stars. Give us that review. Help us get out 2 more eardrums out there as well. Again, VSiN at the Track. It's youtube.com/at VSiN at the Track. Join the At the Track community and post your questions and comments below. All right, Aaron, we march on. And we march on to race number 10 on the Saturday card. The Grade 3 dinner party here, 1.125 miles over the Laurel Park turf course. And it's an interesting one because there's really 2 horses that are going to take the majority of the betting here. The number 3, Cruise the Nile, 9-5 on the morning line. And the number 6, Dresden's Row here, 7-5 on the morning line. They have similar styles. I think we could argue about who's going to get the lead. I think the pace is going to be interesting here. You've got 4th Washington at 7-2. Bourbon for Toby, always been one of my favorites, sitting there at 12-1, a little bit longer of a price. I think it's going to be a fun race to watch and a race you have to bet very strategically if you're going to try and make money here, because I do think it is most likely the 3 or 6 that ends up first across the line. Where are you going here in the dinner party?
I actually really like the 6 in this spot. Dresden Row is a horse. I am thrilled that this horse drew outside of the 3, because I think the 3 gets the lead, and I think the 6, Flavian Pratt, can place that horse wherever he likes. I really like Dresden Row in this spot. I think he's the single on top. Now, you look at the race last time out at Keeneland in an allowance race. That was a very tough allowance race. There were some good horses in there. Integration was in that race and finished 3rd. He came back to win. He's a nice horse, especially at that level. Dresden Row just looked awesome. He just stalked the pace and absolutely dominated over a Keeneland turf course that's not exactly favoring towards horses towards the front during that whole meet. Dresden Row said, hey, that's no problem. That was also the first race for Todd Pletcher. This horse had been at Woodbine and running well at Woodbine in really tough races. Like I said, Pletcher took over last time out. Pratt was aboard there. Pratt was aboard here. I think they were working backwards to try to get this kind of a spot. I think this is a really nice stake spot for him to show up in. I really like this horse, Mike. I like I said, drawing outside the 3 I thought was big. I think it's a perfect trip, and I think buries him. I really like Dresden Row in the spot.
I agree with you. I put Dresden Row on top as well. To me, it was not actually between the 3 and the 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of willing to take a shot against the 3 here. I'm going to see if we can get creative underneath. Again, we'll talk about how to bet this race in a second, because I do think these are the smaller fields. You have to structure your tickets, especially when there are 2 shorter price favorites, in a way that you can make sure you're making money. Make sure you're taking advantage of those opinions. It sounds like you've got a big one with Dresden's Row. Like I said, I agree. Like the second time in the Pletcher Barn absolutely matters. The back class you have here, I think absolutely makes a difference as well. This is a horse been consistently running in grade 2 and grade 3 events up at Woodbine. Did come down to Turfway Park, ran in a $250,000 stakes race, ran second that day there. I like the fact that first turf race was so good, because to me, if you were going to poke a hole in this horse, it's the fact that, hey, we hadn't won on turf. Because prior to that effort, hit the board 3 times, 1 second, 2/3, but had never actually got a win on turf. Now you've got the win on turf. We saw the I'm not going to call it like big time improvement, but the level of the horse, to me, slightly improved in that first race off of what we had seen over at Woodbine. So I do think we have a level here that is a little bit up from what we have seen in the past. You'd think that second off, you're going to get even better here for Pletcher. This is a 5-year-old. It's not like this is a 7 or 8-year-old where we've kind of seen the ceiling. All of that, to me, it kind of points to agree with you that Dresden's Row is going to win this race. You also don't need the lead, which is nice. I don't know who's going to get the lead. I guess that's my next question for you here. Is it Thundering? Is it Cruise the Nile? Is it a situation where What Say Thee just decides to pop the gate from the inside and just go? To me, the pace early was one of the bigger question marks in this race.
I think it's Cruise the Nile. I think he's going to get to the lead. And if not him, I think it's Thundering. I think it's the 2 or the 3. I know what you're trying to say with the 1 as well. I just don't know that he's naturally fast enough, but from the rail, maybe you just go and try it. But I really think Cruise the Nile gets the lead. I think Thundering is going to stalk a little bit, or maybe even press. And then I think Dresden Row is going to kind of sit right behind him. That's kind of how I see it unfolding here. I could see it being a little bit quicker than you might think for a turf race here at Laurel with the 2 and the 3 if they end up going. And though, look, he's still kind of a shorter price, but that's why I like the number 4 Fort Washington in second here. He's very honest. Like, we kind of know what he's going to do. He's going to drop back and he's going to make one run. And if we do get pace, I can see him getting up late for second. Again, he is 7-2. It's not a long shot, but I think Fort Washington is a very likely second place finisher in this one.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I was between Fort Washington and a Bourbon for Toby in second here. I just don't want to. I want to try and create some value. And if you have the favorite who's 7-5 on top, putting the 3 horse who's 9-5 in second is just not going to create any value in the race for you. So I went 6-4, and then the question was, do I want to put the 3 or the 5 or the 2 in third when I'm playing trifectas, or do I want to put a couple of them there, see if I can really create more value? But I think the 6-4 Cold Exact is kind of the way you look at it here, because these are the 2 most proven horses. And I'm generally someone who hey, Cruise the Nile, it's the horse on the come up, going to get better. Like, this is the Mike style of horse. I'm not sure how much better we're going to get. And I look back at who we have faced, and I get that you beat Burnham Square 2 back at Gulfstream Park. Burnham Square came from way out of it, and the pace was not that fast that day, and the track was playing extremely fast that day. So for me, that race isn't necessarily as impressive as it looks on paper. We'll see. The next race out at Laurel was a very fast time, a good race. Was able to close. To me, that race was more impressive than the race 2 back, winning that $100,000 stake. So we'll see if Cruise the Nile can take a step forward. I think he has to win. Mm-hmm. I think he probably has to run second, and that you're just not getting that priced in number that he's going to just be able to run second or win the race at that 9-5 price.
That's the biggest problem with me. It's just it's a big kind of prove it spot, I think, for Cruise the Nile, where I'm pretty confident I know who Dresden Row is. Cruz and I look, and like you said, people are going to look at that Burnham Square thing, but Burnham Square ran an otherworldly type of race for him last out. The race he ran at Gulfstream when Cruz and I won was not the same one he ran in the last start at Keeneland. So that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. And again, you said it, and you're 100% right. When you get one horse at 7-5 and one horse that's 9-5, you got to make a decision. You can't play them both, right? And so for me, I just kept going back, and it's like the proven commodity for me is Dresden Rowe. I mean, you mentioned it, like we didn't really know what we were going to see get into the turf and get into Todd Pletcher, but we could look back and say, man, this horse ran really well at Woodbine. I know it was on synthetic, but ran really well against really good horses over and over and over. So I just kept going back to the 6 over the 3 here. And look, if you're sitting here and you're listening, it's like, I like that 3. Okay, then if you're going to make that decision, then don't play the 6 and go 3 over 4 or 3 over 5, something like that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the prices here. The number 1, What Say Thee, 15-1. The number 2, Thundering, 15-1. We both talked a little bit about Bourbon for Toby, 12-1. The number 5 and the number 7, Harrow, 12-1. I'd be surprised if any of them win. I think I could make a case for all 4 hitting, like running 3rd or 4th, though, depending on how this plays out. I do like a Bourbon for Toby the most of that bunch. Is there a longer shot you prefer in here?
Yeah, I like the 5 or the 7. I think that's the one. If you're going to play a long shot, you go with those 2. I'm not sold on the 1 or the 2. You've talked about the 5 a lot, so I'll talk about the 7, Harrow. Look, Safi Joseph, Tyler Gaffleone, so that's good right there. You start off with very good connections. That's a positive. And then you look at the race like 3 back at the Bowling Green up at Saratoga. Ran 3rd. Yeah, kind of wasn't close, but Farbridge and El Razine were in that race. I mean, not too bad. 3rd last time out, got beat by a couple horses that aren't too bad. Missed the cut, beat him last time out. He's not awful. This is a horse kind of like the poor man's version of Fort Washington, right? Drop back, make one run. If they come back to you enough, you can hit the board. So I thought, him and Fort Washington are going to kind of be together. I think they'll make their runs. I think Fort Washington will outkick Harrow, but I think Harrow could be right there. So if it falls apart, I definitely think he could get 3rd. That's probably his ceiling, but he's an honest horse, right? You know exactly what he's going to do in this race.
Yeah, he's going to make a run. We don't know if he'll be in the race. That's the other issue here with Harrow. He is scheduled or is entered for tonight, Thursday night at Churchill Downs. We'll see if he is in race number 5 or not. I agree with you. I do think he can make one big run. The pace is more of a concern for me with Harrow. Fort Washington is just a true horse. Like, he doesn't really need pace to close. He's just good. Harrow, I'm more worried we need pace to be able to close. I do think the 1, What Say Thee, at least a little bit interesting here from a what we're going to do perspective. Like, let's say the 2 and the 3 go and the 1 just sits the trip right behind him. You're going to get cappered seat. You're going to save ground both turns. I wouldn't be shocked if you can parlay that into a 3rd place finish in this race, right? We'll see if it actually happens. I don't think that the wind opportunity there is necessarily on top, but I do think that there is a possibility that What Say Thee can run underneath. So again, I think a good race if you want to play tries or supers. I think a not wonderful race if you are betting to win, unless, let's say, you hold that 7-5 price or 8-5 on Dresden's Row. And that's where both of us will be going here. Laurel Park, race number 10, the dinner party, grade 3, 1.8 on the turf course on Saturday from Laurel. Number 6, Dresden Row for me. Number 6, Dresden Row for Aaron, 7-5 on the morning line there. All right, let's head over to the feature of the weekend, the grade 1, the Preakness Stakes, the race everybody has been talking about for 2 weeks that we cannot wait to see what happens here. Honestly, I can't wait to see what happens here. I get, we'll talk about the Triple Crown thing in a second. Don't you worry. That'll be available over YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're joining us over on VSiN in the simulcast here, you got to join the group, join the community if you want to be able to hear everything on the episode, including the best bets at the end. But this is a fun race. I realize that the public probably doesn't care, but I think it's a kind of fun race. I think you can find ways to find some value here. 14 3-year-old colts heading postward, Aaron. Who are you putting on top?
Oh, boy. Yeah, it is a fun race. It's a great betting race. There's so many different ways you can go. All right, well, here's my crazy pick. I'm going to go number 5, Talkin on top in this spot. 20 to 1 on the morning line. I don't think we're going to get that. I do think we're going to get double digits, though, no doubt about it. Biggest thing for me, Joel Rosario off, Irad Ortiz Jr. on. I think that is very, very good. I think that's worth a couple buyer points right there immediately. And then you kind of look at what Danny Gargan has said, and he said, look, last time out, Rosario didn't ride Talkin like I told him to ride him. He was too close to the pace. So when you look at Talkin, I think he needs to be off the pace a little bit more. I don't think he needs to be in last. I think he needs to be a mid-pack type of horse. I think Irad will do that. I think there's a ton of speed signed on here, and so I think that sets up for his kind of projected trip. It's also his third race off of the layoff, so I think he's going to improve in this spot. I want a horse that's going to improve in this spot. I think that's a big key here. The biggest thing for me, he's bred to get the distance. He's going to get the trip. Gargan has him ready to run his absolute best race in this spot, and then he gets Irad. So I'm going to take a shot, Mike. I'm going to take a swing. I did not want to play a short price here. Give me number 5, Talkin on top. I know.
This has been my horse.
I know. I knew you were
for weeks.
Yeah.
Like, I think I talked about Talkin. That was going to run underneath in both those races. Give me the 5 Talkin on top, 20 to 1. I everything you said, like Gargan third off the layoff here. Irad jumps aboard. The rides were not good in the last 2 races. You saw the talent in the Grade 1 Champagne. The horse came from off the pace to break the maiden. It makes sense that this horse closes. It makes sense that this horse gets the distance. You have significant upside when you don't need to improve that much to be able to beat everybody in this field, and you're getting 20 to 1. I'm surprised. I did not think you would take Talkin there. I did not think we'd have the same pick. But yeah, I like the 5 horse. I thought this was the value bet. I do have the one Taj Mahal in second, who is 5 to 1, one of your favorites, and one of the more interesting horses. We talked a lot that there is going to be speed in here. I'm not convinced that Taj Mahal needs the lead. This is one of those, like, I think Bob Baffert rejects. Never was in the Bob Baffert barn, but based on the ownership group, SF Racing, Starlight Racing, Madacat Stables, the Avengers of horse racing. My guess is that this was a Baffert, like, tagged horse, sold for $500,000, ends up in the Brittany Russell barn, which is not irregular. We do see a lot of those kind of Baffert horses end up there, or tagged for Baffert end up there. Horses 3 for 3 in the career, came from off the pace sprinting. 1 gate to wire the last 2 times, going a mile and an eighth. What do you make of Taj Mahal here?
I really worry about the trip. That's my worry. I think, look, if you want a horse that can win at Laurel Park, well, he's your horse. You want a horse that wins, there's your horse. He's 3 for 3. I'm not going to talk you off of him. I will say that immediately. But what I'll say is what you said has to be right. He has to be able to win with a much different trip than what he's been winning with. The race last time out, he was 10 lengths clear at the half-mile marker. That's not happening in this race. He also ran 47.8 to get there. So that's not happening. However,
that to me is the key there. He was not that fast.
No.
And he was 10 lengths up.
That's you stole the words right out of my mouth. You've been so professional until this point. No, that's exactly what
you stole my horse.
47.8 to the half. He's not tugging to get there. He's just naturally running, right? So what's going to happen? Okay, let's pretend they go 47 and change to the half here, which I think they're going to be faster. But he's going to either be surrounded by horses or he's going to be behind horses. So we'll see what he can do. That was my worry, but I'm saying I'm worried about it, but I'm not saying it's impossible, right? Where some of these other ones, it's like they have to be in the front. I don't think it's possible for them to stalk. This horse, we don't know because he's never really faced anybody that's any good. So he's kind of just been on the lead because he's just so much better than what he's faced. So that's my big worry with Taj Mahal. What does he do around better horses? I know this field isn't great. It's better than what he's been up against.
It is better than what he's been up against. There's no doubt about that. I do think you could argue he's going to get better because it's 4th race of the career. Like, there's a logical argument you can make that you're going to get the best career race here, which I think is important. I do agree with you. You want someone who's going to improve. Again, I go back to the maiden breaking score where he didn't break well, but he was 6 of 6 and just circled the field, was able to close. So clearly the ability to stalk is there. He didn't rush up and then try. Like, we've seen a lot of horses, they miss the break in their first start. They rush up into the pace and they collapse. He was able to relax and pass horses. And again, not the greatest group, but at least we know it's in there. It's possible for Taj Mahal to be able to do so. All right, let's talk about your favorite on the morning line. The number 9 Iron Honor, your winner of the Gotham at Aqueduct going a mile, decided to try and go a mile and 1/8 in the Wood Memorial. That didn't go great, despite the fact that you've got Nyquist on the top, Blame on the bottom. Was the favorite that day, lost to Albus, Right to Party, and Oselli in a race that collapsed, which reminds me a lot of what's going to happen in this race.
Mm-hmm.
How does Iron Honor win?
First of all, there's no way he's the favorite. I think he's such a terrible morning line favorite. We were talking before they gave the morning line. It's like, yeah, it could be Taj Mahal. It's probably going to be Incredibolt, but it's definitely going to be one of those two. And then it's Iron Honor. Look, here's the deal. It is Chad Brown in the Preakness, and his record is very, very good here doing this, skipping in the Derby and going to the Preakness. And so for that, you do have to say, okay, he's dangerous, right? Flavian Proud Aboard as well, that too. I think the biggest key to what you said, I agree with you 100%. There's going to be a lot of pace. He's been up on the pace all 3 races. Why he didn't run well in the Wood Memorial, he was up and pressed the pace and got tired. Chad Brown's taking the blinkers off. And they're doing that, trying to get this horse to relax. Perhaps he gets more of a middle of the pack type of trip here, and maybe it gives him a shot. But I'm 100% with you. I want nothing to do with this horse on top as a win bet. I just don't want to go there. Can he do the Chad Brown thing and turn it around and reverse the form? Yes. But do you want to bet all that stuff to happen at a shorter price? No.
This was never the plan, too. Let's be like Chad Brown, really good at planning horses for the Preakness, like he was planning Emerging Market to run in the Preakness before his plans got ruined. By the way, Emerging Market would be like 2 to 5 in this race. This is a backup plan. And to me, so you can't really say, well, Chad Brown in the Preakness, really good. Chad Brown generally has a horse who is prepping for the Preakness as he goes through the Derby races, right? He doesn't, like, Iron Honor was not prepping for the Preakness. Iron Honor was just kind of running where Iron Honor might be able to fit. The goal wasn't to win the Preakness ever with Iron Honor. We're just here because this isn't a great field. He makes sense. Okay. 9-2 is way too short. I need like 10-1 to bet Iron Honor. Like, I don't, not even a little bit for me. All right, let's go to the 2 horses that ran in the Kentucky Derby and are back in this race. That would be the number 3 Oselli, who will be making his 8th start. Still chasing a victory, but has earned $600,000. Might be the highest earning maiden ever in a Triple Crown race. And the number 12 Incredibolt here, who ran 6th in the Kentucky Derby, and I thought didn't get a great trip, but kind of, wasn't terrible either. What do you make of these 2 horses coming back on 2 weeks rest, Oselli and Incredibolt?
Let's start with Incredibolt, because I do think he's a very logical horse here. I do think he is a favorite of this race when they go to post. And I get it. I think it was a really good move by Riley Mott to put him here, give him a shot. I mean, he does look good in a grade 1, and I don't know that he's going to look good in a grade 1 ever again, to be quite honest. My problem with Incredibolt, everything I just said makes sense. If you want to play him in this race, that makes sense as well. I'm going to put him on pick 4 and pick 5 tickets. I just don't know that he's that good. And I know nobody's that good in this race, but man, I don't really care about the Virginia Derby. I don't think that's a relevant data point when it comes to handicapping future races. I also don't care about the Holy Bull. We didn't run very well. That's fine too. That doesn't bother me. The Street Sense was just okay. The Kentucky Derby was just okay. I don't know who he is. I don't know how good he is. I still am skeptical that he's that good. So I didn't want him at a short price. Oselli is a horse. I said right after the Derby, I will never bet that horse ever in his next start. He enters here and he has on paper an absolutely perfect setup.
Yeah.
Can he do what he did in the Derby, or is he more like he was in all those other races? I don't know, Mike. I really don't know with him.
He got rocked by Incredibolt by 7 lengths.
Yeah.
Go ahead and beat me. Go ahead. Go ahead. But you were 70-1 in the Derby for a reason. You were 23-1 in the frickin' Wood Memorial.
Yeah.
Which was not a good race for a reason. Like, a hard pass. Like, I can't at 6-1. Maybe if Oselli was 20-1, I would talk about this as a horse that I want to use underneath. At 6-1, if Oselli runs well, congratulations, Oselli, and everyone who backed him. I just can't at this price. A horse that ran or was supposed to run in the Kentucky Derby, who I apparently cannot quit, is Great White, who I do like in this spot as well. 15-1, the number 13 horse here. This horse can close. I don't know why we were on the pace in the Bluegrass. I think this sets up well for Great White here. They said the horse came out of that race, flipped on its back behind the gate, was scratched before the race incredibly well. I think Great White at 15-1 makes a ton of sense underneath and is another horse that I will use in my pick X wagers.
I couldn't get there. I want to get there with Great White. I do, because there are, look, 2 of those 4 races, you can look at them and go, I see the talent there. The maiden was nice. It was synthetic surface, but we're grasping at things, right, for this race. The Battaglia, it was nice. He ran well in that race. The Bluegrass, I agree. That just wasn't the trip. They said he was sick out of that race too, so you maybe just draw a line through it. I just can't. From the 13 hole, I think that's not that great of a post, dude. And I can't get there with him. I want to. He's a beautiful horse. He does kind of have a look at one that's maturing. I couldn't get there with him. I tried. I just absolutely could not get there. One horse that I've been debating on for a while, and I ultimately could not get there, but maybe talk me into it or out of it, one way or the other. The number 7, The Hell We Did. With a different trip, does he have a better chance here? In the Lexington, he kind of pressed the pace. I think he needs to come from out of it a little bit. I hate that Trendsetter came back and just got trashed in the Peter Pan. In a race, it wasn't all that good, and he passed The Hell We Did like he was standing still, and so that's why I kept going, I can't do it. But from off the pace, what do you think?
I mean, I actually thought you were going to pick The Hell We Did. So,
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have been, if you were saying you like the price, that was the one I know you picked in that race. I wouldn't have been shocked. Second time going 2 turns. Yeah. That should help. Probably going to be a little too forward for my liking. Like, this kind of reminds me of like So Happy in the Derby, where it's like, I don't know if you can close. I think that I just think you're naturally too fast to be, and you're going to be too close to this pace. It's going to cause a problem for you. So yeah, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard for me to go with The Hell We Did here. Yeah, can you even make a case for Bull by the Horns in like 4th?
I don't know.
As like the other, if the Oselli level closer here, right? Isn't there a comp you could make between Bull by the Horns here and Oselli in the Derby?
Yeah,
good horse that's closing that could run a career best number and surprise everybody.
It's got to fall completely apart. But
right.
It might.
Well, I mean, could.
It might. Could. Yeah. It has the look of it. Maybe.
Yeah. Then your best friend, Steve Asmussen, does have one in here as well. The number 6, Chip Honcho, who's 5-1. Gutty horse.
Yeah.
Is the pace just too much? Is that the problem?
Well, look, he's been like as average can get in every start but one. And that one start was the Risen Star when he was 2 lengths ahead at the half mile pole. He was 2 lengths ahead on a speed favoring track, and he still lost. His other races aren't close. So I've never liked him. And I find any way possible to like Steve Asmussen horses. You know that. And if anybody's listened for a long time, you guys know that as well. I've never bet this horse once. And that's saying something for me with an Asmussen horse who hasn't just looked awful, but he just looks really average to me. And again, with the pace set up how it is, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm worried average might be good enough, but we will see.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
Fair.
I don't like it. I'm not going to use Chip Honcho. If Chip Honcho wins, I lose. If Chip Honcho runs the try, I don't have it. I'm a little concerned that this is the horse that like was at least frisky with all the horses that we liked in the Derby. Like Emerging Market was close. Paladin would have been maybe the favorite, second choice, probably the favorite in the Derby. Yeah, we ended up there, ran second. Golden Tempo, hung around.
Yeah,
he won the Derby. Like he is the class, I guess, at least to say that this was the one that you should be looking at. I'm good. All right, that is the Preakness Stakes, which shockingly we agree on. I did not see that coming. Race number 13 from Laurel Park, Grade 1 Preakness. The number 5, Talkin' for both Aaron and I at 20-1. Last question before we move on. What's the off odds for Talking?
I think 12. I think 12 to 1.
I was going to say 9, but yeah, I think we're somewhere in there, somewhere in that like close to double digits, high singles, low doubles,
Yep.
somewhere in that range. All right, Aaron, it's that time of the show. Means time for the user comments, and boy, did we get a lot. And I tried to group them up as best I could so I could get everyone involved in the discussion here. And it's going to be a lot about the horses, and specifically the Triple Crown here. So first from Chick Di Vono here, explain what happened when, for years and years, horses ran 2 weeks later from the Derby, yet now we can't. Is our analytics taking over the sport like baseball or other sports? What's your reasoning first, Aaron, and then I will give mine.
It's all about breeding now, and I think they don't want to risk getting these horses injured. They're worth so much in the breeding shed that they're just not going to do it. We used to race, and now we race to breed. That's my opinion.
I agree with you. We just had a horse sell for $10 million. That is not of racing age yet. There's so much more money after than there is before. And one thing I don't think a lot of people realize is because of that, specifically the males, so the colts, who are intact, meaning they can still have children, didn't get the big snip, they're cost a lot of money to insure every single time they race. So you have to have enough money on the line to insure the horse, because you're insuring, like, let's talk about Into Mischief, who gets $250,000 every time that does the deed, right? That's $25 million for 100 times
Right.
every year. The insurance check on some of these horses is insane. People so the fact that there's so much value in the breeding shed and the value after the fact means you're paying money to run these horses. You need to make sure that they're going to run their best, and there's a risk of putting them on the track, obviously.
Yep.
That's to me the biggest issue. The breeding has changed, the style of breeding has changed. The fact that horses used to do it all the time and now they don't, then you're breeding into horses that don't, doesn't mean that you're going to magically get a horse that comes out and runs every 2 weeks. I just don't think owners are willing to risk the asset. And that's the bottom line is these horses are now legitimate assets. So is like in the 70s and 80s, yeah, they were worth money. They were not worth what they are today.
I mean, there's nothing to add. That's what it is right there. A lot of people like to say, oh, these trainers are sissies now, and use other words. And it's like, I don't know, maybe. And then they also like say that the breed has changed and all this stuff. It's like, not really. I mean, yes, they breed a lot more for speed versus stamina and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't buy it. I just think it's what we've said, and I don't know that if it's ever going to change, Mike, because the breeding industry would have to kind of fold or take a hit, and I don't think we want to root for that, because that means horse racing has taken a big hit. So it's kind of a no-win situation.
Yeah, without capping, like, hey, the most you can pay for a horse and stud is $100K.
Yeah.
Without capping things, it's going to be very hard to see a world where this just magically adjusts, right? Now, you could cap things like, hey, the first 3 years you're a stallion, if you didn't run at 4 or 5, the cap is $25,000 to stand.
Yeah.
And then if you ran at 4, it's 50. If you ran at 5, it's 100. And you basically say that longevity is a value, right? Availability is the most important ability. But I don't think they'll ever do that either, because, that's giving the middle finger to people who are putting a lot of money into the sport. Minidar says the Triple Crown means nothing until the Belmont is back at 1.5 miles. Alex Mansfield says, if you're talking about an asterisk, shouldn't we already have one since the Belmont's being run at 10 furlongs? Yeah, I think the Belmont getting back to 1.5 miles is going to make a difference. I think people need to remember we have had a Triple Crown winner that did not win the Belmont at 1.5 miles. Yet no one mentioned them in their comments. So it's like the races changed distances in the 150 years prior. None of those have an asterisk. Just saying, Aaron.
I will say I'm looking forward, as much as I love Saratoga, and trust me, I love it. The Belmont needs to be at Belmont Park. It does feel a little out of place, right? And so I am looking forward to it getting back. And I do think it being 1.25 miles has kind of mess with things a little bit. Getting back to that 1.5 miles would be great. So I don't totally disagree with the comments there.
Taco Supreme jumping in saying 3-year-olds are running less and less is similar to starting pitchers transitioning to not go past the fifth inning. Pete Thizan says, let's be clear about why the Triple Crown needs to change. Horses aren't trained like they used to be. You can look at very recent races results and that say it's not nearly as big of a deal if trainers make it out to be, but trainers will not run their horses back in 2 weeks. Crazy Kyle says, make the Preakness great again. Move it back 1 to 2 weeks. Give the Derby winner a bonus, and possibly give the top 5 Derby winners free nominations into the Preakness. They already have that, so you'd have to give them some other way. But like essentially incentivize anyone who ran in the top 5 in the Derby to be back in the Preakness outside of just the Triple Crown. I think this is where we're ended up going. I think that you move the race back 1 to 2 weeks. You move the Belmont back to the early July, and you add incentives because CDI now owns both the first and the second leg of the Triple Crown.
Here's what I would do, and I would do this Saturday if I was Churchill Downs. I would get on the air about 30 minutes before the Preakness when everybody's tuning in, and I would announce, we're going to run this next year the first Saturday in June. We are moving it to the first Saturday in June. You get bonuses. If you ran in the Derby, you're going to get bonuses for running in the Preakness. And I would call Naira up and say, ball's in your court. Do whatever you want. We're doing it. And guess what? They have all the right and all the power to do that because they own, like you said, they own them now. So that's what I would do. And then I would see what Naira did. I wouldn't be shocked. They're not going to do that Saturday because that would just be too bold for horse racing, right? But I wouldn't be shocked if they do something similar to that. And I think that is ultimately where it's going to land.
Yeah, you know what Naira should do? They should call CDI and be like, hey, we'll run 4th of July weekend and have our Stars and Stripes festival featuring the Belmont.
Like, I don't think it's going to happen, but
yeah, it should. That is what should happen. Now, we did have people. Well, I want to bring one other one in here. Donald Duncan says we do have a Triple Crown. It's the Derby, the Belmont, and the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah.
Kind of agree with you because I would put the Preakness like the 5th most important race. If you did, like, obviously from a fan perspective, it's up there. It's higher than 5th, but like Travers kind of means more than the Preakness at this point. To be least to connections, like if you just look at who runs in both, it's pretty obvious people would rather run in the Travers. The Belmont means more than the Preakness. Obviously, the Breeders' Cup means more than the Preakness. I don't hate the idea that's the new Triple Crown for today's day and age of horse racing. Now, let's get to the detractors here. Big Stick says, if the time frame between the races changed, it's no longer the Triple Crown, regardless of what they say. It's just not the Triple Crown series anymore. Roundtable Treasures say, leave the Triple Crown alone, or it is no longer the Triple Crown. The othersides.com says the reason people want to change in the Triple Crown is because many horses have gone on to try the Triple Crown. The horse is healthy and sound. Too many wimpy trainers and owners these days, in my opinion. JR says the plain truth is that it isn't fair to the memory of immortal champions of today if today's 3-year-olds are allowed an easier path. And Robert Ragland says if you're going to move the schedule, then just don't call it the Triple Crown. Call it the American Crown, something else like that. I actually don't even want to argue whether or not it is fair for the older horses or if the breeding is different. It's pretty simple. If you want eyeballs, you need to change it. I don't think that to me is the argument here. It's not like, devaluing the Triple Crown or saying the horses or trainers or people are soft or anything. Like, the sport needs eyeballs. Eyeballs are gotten by adjusting the schedule.
I'm going to answer this question very carefully. And I want to make one thing known. I feel for those people that have that mindset towards it. I don't
even think they're wrong.
That exactly. I share that mindset that all of these commenters have. I don't want it to change either because of everything you said. I 100% agree. This is where you have to realize something, though. The people that play the game, most of them don't think like all the commenters and you and I. And that's the problem. We don't play the game. We care about it more than the people playing the game. And that is where the issue is. And yes, you can find 3, 4, 5 trainers that are going to go out there and say that exact same thing. But we can't count on them to always win the Derby, right? This doesn't happen. And so here's the deal. You can't keep doing the same thing if the players of the game aren't participating in what you're doing. That is where the problem is. And so while I totally agree with you guys, I also see the other side of it and go, well, if the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl this year and then not compete in the next 2 seasons because they got their Super Bowl, then we're losing a lot of things, right? Like, it's just like you have to have the players in the game want to play the game you're providing. And we don't have that. And that's the problem. And I understand the pushback. Hey, it's not going to be the same. Every sport out there evolves and changes, and things are very different than how they were back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. I realize racing is very slow to change, and they do not want to change. Baseball was like that for a long time, Mike, and they've improved their game by doing things that maybe our grandpas might look at baseball and go, well, this sucks. This isn't baseball. Well, it's improved the game. It's gotten more viewers. It's gotten more betting dollars, stuff like that. And baseball's not the only one. Like, we have a 3-point line in basketball, and we still acknowledge that there's champions who win in basketball when we had just 2-pointers for a long, long time, right? Big changes happen. I understand nobody wants it to happen, or a lot of people, fans, don't want it to happen. But if you got the trainers that aren't willing to participate in your system, you don't have a Triple Crown anyway. This isn't a Triple Crown that we currently have either if nobody is willing to participate in it.
Yeah, look, baseball is the comp.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be boxing. You don't want boxing to be the comp, because that's the way we're going right now, right? And boxing, it's like the biggest fight that I can remember in the last 5 years is Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Right. Yeah.
That is not where we want to end up.
No,
okay.
no.
Baseball made the adjustment with the pitch clock. Baseball made the adjustment with the balls and strikes challenges that we're getting, and the challenges and reviews that you're getting. Viewership is up, irregardless of how you feel about it. Viewership is up. Gambling on baseball is up. The sport is doing better than it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, before these changes were made. And that's kind of how I'm like with horse racing now. Like, I don't, if like I had the opportunity to pick just in Mike Somich's world and everyone was really happy with my decision, I probably don't move these races. When you have to get more eyeballs, when you have to look at the overall trajectory of the sport, you kind of have to move them. And I think that's what needs to happen and should happen and probably will happen. Yeah. But I don't know. I think you're still going to call it the Triple Crown. I understand the argument that it's not, but it's going to be called the Triple Crown moving forward. And it's one of those situations where it's one of those, like, you have to, it's for the greater good, right? Where it's like, just got to do it, and you got to be okay with it, or you could choose not to follow horse racing. Like, that's the other aspect of this. I'm never making that choice. I love horse racing. I'm going to follow this, but I do think that you still need to be able to make changes.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. And I don't know. I hate it. I think we both don't want to do it, but we both understand you have to do it. And you have to call it the Triple Crown, because that's what you can't just say, well, we're not going to call it the Triple Crown anymore, because like that's what my neighbor knows it as. Like he's going to watch it, because it's the Triple Crown. It's branding. It sucks, but it's reality.
Yeah, that's where the interesting part of this debate is to me, because I'm not arguing that moving it is right from a historical sporting perspective, or that you have to do it because of the horses that need more time. I am arguing you have to do it for the good of the sport. Like, and the rest of it just kind of goes along with that. All right. Thank you very much to everybody who commented over on YouTube. Appreciate it on both sides of the aisle there, because like I do think that like neither side is wrong about their feelings on the Triple Crown. It is what the sport needs to do moving forward, and I don't unfortunately see a world where you can't at least make some adjustments there. But if you want to get involved in the discussion, head over to YouTube at VSiN at the Track. Comment below this episode. We'll read more comments next week, because I'm sure this debate will rage on, because it is one of the more popular ones inside horse racing today. All right, Aaron, best bets. We're all over the place here. You're in the 1st and 4th race. I'm in the 8th and 12th. So we're just going to go back and forth. I will let you go first. Who do you like here? Race 1, Laurel Park on Saturday.
Yeah, let's kick it off early in the morning here. We're going to race 1, and I'm going to go with the number 7 Epic Style on top in this spot. Love that Jose Ortiz gets aboard, and love that this horse has been pretty good at Laurel. Last time out, got second in a similar race, just got a little bit too far back. I think Jose Ortiz makes a big difference here. I think that's going to be a storyline. The Ortiz brothers are jumping on some horses local that I think will make differences on Friday and Saturday both. This is one of them. I think the pace sets up pretty well here. I see a mid-pack back kind of trip and then just pounce at the top of the lane. So I like number 7, Epic Style, to get us going on Saturday.
I love it when you pick a turf sprint, Aaron. I do think Epic Style is a very logical winner here. I think it has the most win equity. Price, like I think we probably hold the biggest issue with the price is there's not really another horse that like you're pointing to and saying that horse is taking money. A lot of 6-1, 8-1 shots. I guess Bougie Bubbles, wonderful name. The number 2 horse there, 7-2, probably the other one that takes some money. I do think the number 1, Sally's Gold, a little bit interesting as a gate to wired shot because I do think she's able to get to the front. All right, first best bet for me, race number 8 at Laurel Park, the number 5, Floodlights. And this is one of those horses that is going to, I believe, set up to a pace where you're going to be able to come from off of it for Wesley Ward in a race that features a lot of speed. And now, don't get me wrong, Floodlights is fast, but there are probably 3 or 4 horses in this race that want the lead even more than Floodlights does. And if you go back to 3 back at Keeneland, $80,000 N2L claimer, we saw that trip with the Toria board where this horse was close to the pace and still be able to kick on late and win by open lengths. Came back to Aqueduct, went gate to wire that day, went gate to wire last time out at Keeneland, but I don't think has to be a gate to wire horse. If you go back further in the career, was able to win from that 3rd or 4th spot. I think we get that stalking trip with Velasquez. I don't think he gets caught up in the pace duel, and I think he's the beneficiary of a very, very fast pace in the 8th race at Laurel. So number 5, Floodlights, 4-1 for me, first best bet of the day.
Good pick. I like that pick. I also like the 2 faster gator. Maybe the speed of the speed can get out there ahead of them, but no, I don't mind Floodlights at all. I think that is a very logical pick.
Yeah, I'm a little interested in the 2 too. Faust, I think, is one of those horses that Ortiz takes over. That could be interesting. That is getting a big time jockey upgrade there. That is the 3 horse there. But number 5, Floodlights, in the Grade 3 Maryland Sprint, race number 8 on the Laurel card is the first best bet for me. Aaron's second best bet coming from race number 4. Who you got?
Yeah, number 4, race 4. I'm going to go number 7, Modo. This horse, Irad Ortiz takes over the riding assignment here. You probably don't know about this horse because you can't watch him run his last 2 or her run the last 2 races because they've been at Sam Houston and Lone Star, and you can only watch those races when you're in that state because horse racing is insane. But 2 amazing wins in a row, just being honest. So wins in a row at Sam Houston and Lone Star, just ran off the screen. Got to step up in class today for sure, but I don't really mind it. I think this horse is going to be fine. 5 races back, won a nice allowance race at Churchill. I think as long as we get out of the gate well and get in that good spot, I think she's gone. So give me the number 7, Modo, in the 4th race at Laurel.
This is one of those I think is really tough. Definitely maybe the fastest horse. I think this is going to be fascinating to see how quick Moto is out of the gate because that's going to really define Moto's race here. If she is quickest early and clears, she's going to be really tough. If Striker as Dial or Kappa makes life difficult, all of a sudden this becomes a wide open race. I think Kappa, decent shot there. 5-2, so not a crazy price. Probably not a race where I'm playing exact either, just because they're going to be most likely favorite and second choice there. All right, last best bet for me, race number 12, the Turf Sprint Stakes on the card. Give me the number 8, Outlaw Kid here. 5-1 on the morning line. Second off the layoff for George Weaver. Riz rides back after getting the win over this local turf course. Now 1 for 3 over the turf course with 2 seconds. I think this sets up beautifully for a horse that has speed but can close, and that's exactly what Outlaw Kid is. I do have a little interest in the number 3, Jean Valjean, who's going to be your speed of the speed, but I do think it's Outlaw Kid that's able to run him down late. So 8 on top for me here in Outlaw Kid, 5-1 on the morning line.
I'm glad you called out the winner because the winner is going to be number 3. And at my Missouri dialect says Jean Valjean is that horse's name, number 3.
No, name the famous musical this horse is from.
I don't know.
I've
never watched a musical, Mike.
Jean Valjean from Les Miserables.
I don't know. Jean Valjean, the 3 is going to win.
Les Miserables, from Les Marbles, I think is what they call it when I was younger. Anyway, Les Mis, Jean Valjean. Very famous character there, the number 3 for Aaron. But that's the second place horse in the race number 12 at Laurel, because my best bet, the number 8, is going to win, and that is Outlaw Kid at 5-1 there. Those are the best bets for us here today. I'm excited for Preakness weekend. There's a lot of fun races. And no, they're not the level that we saw in the Kentucky Derby, but this is still better than the mass majority of racing weekends. Celebrate the sport. Have fun with it. The Preakness is the best betting version of this race in what? 20 years? I can't remember one that's this good, right?
Ever. Yeah.
Ever. We got 14 horses headed postward with your favorite, who's a bad favorite at 9-2. So make sure you check out Laurel this weekend. 12% takeout on the pick fives, by the way. Low takeout there if you do want to play the pick fives. I love playing those. So excited about that as well, despite the fact that I did write Pimlico at the top of my pick sheet on both the Friday and Saturday because I just couldn't help it. For super producer Matt Deutsch, for Aaron Halterman, I am Mike Somich. Good luck this weekend at the track.